Harry was an angry little fellow. He was often rude with people around him. Harry didn't like being polite with people. His parents and teachers often lectured him about using words like thank you, sorry, please, etc. However, nothing they said or did affected him. Whenever he wanted something, he would simply snatch it or throw a fit to get what he wanted. If anyone asked him something, he would simply make fun of the other people and walk away. One day, Harry was playing in his outhouse with his cat. An old woman was passing by his house. She requested Harry to give her directions about a particular house. "Can't you see, old woman?" scorned Harry. "I am playing here. Go get the bell and Mom will tell you." Hearing this, the old woman turned red with rage. She cursed Harry. "From now on, whatever rude word you utter would leave an ugly scar on your face. Go away!" shouted Harry and continued playing with his cat. Suddenly, the cat flung its paw and scratched his forehead, giving him his first scar. Now, it so happened that couple of boys were playing outside. Their ball fell in Harry's outhouse and they came to get it. "Look, here comes the blind squad!" laughed Harry. "If you boys can't keep your ball in control, why play?" Hearing this, two of the boys climbed the outhouse. They punched Harry in the face and left with their ball. Harry had another scar on his face. Unable to take it, Harry went inside. When his mom saw him, she asked what had happened. Harry retorted, "What do you care? Go do your kitchen work." Saying this, Harry rushed towards the bathroom to wash his face and this time hit his nose. At night, while the entire family was having dinner, Harry asked his little brother, "Hey retarded, give me that fork." Little Tom placed the fork near Harry's hand. But the moment Harry ate with it, he cut his lips. "Look what I've done, idiot!" said Harry angrily and rushed towards his room. As he was in a hurry, he slipped from the stairs and hurt his eye. Mom and Dad became worried what had happened to Harry. But none of them had the courage to talk with him. Harry was both angry and in pain. He didn't like himself when he saw his face in the mirror. Harry started thinking about the whole thing. He was angry that every time he said something rude, it hurt him. Suddenly, he heard a knock at the door. It was Father. With tears in his eyes, Harry said, "Please, Dad, leave me alone." It seemed Harry had grown tired of being rude and getting punished for it every time. Surprisingly, The moment he uttered the word please, the scar on his forehead disappeared. Harry realized what was to be done next. The next morning was a beginning of a new life for Harry. He talked politely with everyone, and with each polite word, his scars disappeared. That evening, while Harry was in the outhouse, he saw the same old woman. He rushed to and said, "Thank you, madam." The old lady smiled and said, "I hope you won't forget this lesson ever." Adam keeps his bedroom neat and tidy. However, it wasn't always that way. Adam and his family shifted to a new house. It was bigger than the previous one and had bigger rooms as well. Adam got the best bedroom of all. It had a window that faced the road. Mom decorated it with toys and books. It was all neat and tidy, an envy of every boy in the neighborhood. On the first day in his bedroom, Adam played all he liked, but went to bed without having tidied up. The next morning, when Adam got up to get ready for school, he was amazed to see that all the toys and books had been put back in their proper place. He was sure that no one had entered his bedroom, but just didn't know who did it. Nonetheless, he went to school, thinking that Mom might have done it. That evening, the same thing happened. Adam went to sleep without tidying up his room. The next day, when he got up, his room was all tidy and neat. Assuming that Mom might have cleaned his room, Adam carried on with his day. The same thing happened that night. Adam went to bed without putting back his toys and books. As he was about to sleep, he felt someone pulling him out of the bed. He tried to jerk it off, but the thing came back to him again and again. Adam got up to see what it was. Suddenly, he saw his toys and books pushing him out of his bed. The next moment, he found himself on the cold floor, with toys walking all over him. A teddy bear came up to his face and said, "Hey Adam, how do you feel on this floor?" "What are you trying to do?" asked Adam angrily. "Nothing," said a soldier. "We are just trying to make you feel the way you make us feel." "What does that mean?" asked Adam, rubbing his eyes. "Why are you surprised?" asked the robot. "You always leave us so far from our proper place, the place we feel most comfortable and happy. Do you have any idea how difficult it is for us to climb back up onto the shelves?" if we happen to stay on the floor, you walk all over us the next morning, breaking us here and there. Tonight, you will get an idea how uncomfortable and cold the floor is. Next came the pens and pencils, poking their tips into Adam. You enjoy breaking our tips with your shoes? It's time you have a taste of them. Adam looked around and saw all his toys and books revolting against him. They were angry that he handled them in such an ill-mannered way. Adam started recalling how comfy and content he felt in his bed, and how bad he felt when he had once slept in a chair. He realized how badly he had treated his belongings. He got up from the floor with a jerk and realized that he was still in bed. It was a bad dream. He looked at the clock and it was 5 in the morning. Quickly, he tidied his room. By that time, it was 6. When Mom entered Adam's room, she was surprised to find it so neat and tidy. Adam wished her good morning and promised that from that day on he would sleep only after tidying his room. Vanna and Omi were cousins. Both were beautiful and smart. Yet the two were very different. Vanna was kind at heart, while Omi was a snob. Vanna always treated people with respect, while Omi didn't think that respect was necessary. For this reason, everyone appreciated Vanna, while her cousin hated her out of jealousy. One day, Omi and Vanna went on a tour with the school kids. Vanna lost track of other kids and lost her way in the jungle. While finding her way back, she came upon a cottage and went inside. The cottage belonged to 4 dwarfs. The dwarfs welcomed Vanna and asked her what she was looking for. Vanna told them that she had lost her way and wanted to get back with her friends. The dwarfs asked her to spend a day with and do as they asked her to do. In return, they promised to help her. Vanna agreed. The first dwarf, named Family, commanded her to cook dinner. Vanna gladly agreed and respectfully served everyone dinner. Then everyone went to bed. The next morning, the second dwarf, named Friends, requested her to help him clean the house. Vanna happily lent him a helping hand as well. Suddenly, she saw the third dwarf, named Neighbors, shouting angrily at the birds that were eating the corn he had planted in the garden. Vanna went to him politely, asked him to calm down. Then she set up a scarecrow, shoo away the birds. The fourth dwarf, named Strangers, saw the whole thing. He made fun of Vanna's scarecrow as it indeed appeared funny. Vena treated him with respect as well and shared a good laugh. The day passed soon, and all the 4 dwarfs were happy to see that Vena treated them as well as their temper with respect and kindness. It was time for her to return. The dwarfs blessed Vena with all the beauty and riches in the world. They gave her a bag full of jewels, and within the blink of an eye, Vena was standing next Omi among her school friends. "Where have you been?" asked Omi. Vena told her all about her experience with the 4 dwarfs and showed her the bag full of jewels. "All I had to do was spend a day with the dwarfs." On hearing this, Omi grew even more jealous of Vena. Nonetheless, she asked her politely to show the place where she got lost. Vena took Omi to the spot where she had lost track of her friends. Before she could guide Omi further, she was off into the woods. Soon, Omi too reached the cottage and went inside. She saw the 4 dwarfs. With a haughty attitude, she said, "I have lost my way and will spend a day here with you. Now, when I leave, you will have to give me a bag bigger than the one you gave to Vena, or else I will make you even shorter." The dwarfs didn't respond but let Omi stay. When family commanded her to cook food, she snapped, "Do I look like a servant to you?" The next morning, friends asked her to help him clean the house. "What?" Omi shouted. "I am not doing such a low, dirty job." When Omi was trying to catch an afternoon nap, she heard neighbors shouting angrily at the birds. "Knock it off!" Omi shouted back. "I can't stand you or your birds." Soon, neighbors set up a scarecrow. When Omi saw it, she scorned and made fun of it. Suddenly, strangers caught her abusing neighbors and started scorning her instead. This aggravated Omi, and she started making fun of his short height. The day passed with Omi shouting around the cottage. When it was time to leave, the dwarfs said, "You have been a very disrespectful girl. We can't give you much." Within the blink of an eye, Omi found herself next to Vena. Her clothes were torn, her face had ugly stars, and she had a bag full of hay and stones. The other kids made fun of her, but Omi kept quiet. She had understood that whatever happened with her was due to her disrespectful nature. Peter and Handy were twin brothers. Though they looked the same, but their hearts and minds were completely opposite. Peter lived to enjoy life. He never cared for people around him. All he was concerned about was his happiness. On the other hand, Handy liked helping people. He was good at heart. He liked taking care of his grandparents, doing chores for his mom and dad, and even helping Handy complete his homework. His friends and teachers too appreciated him, as he was always ready to lend a hand. It was summer vacation. Peter and Handy decided to go trekking with their friends. The first day of trek was good, and the brothers enjoyed a lot. Unfortunately, the brothers lost their way during the second day of the trek. Peter started walking deep into the forest while Handy was following him. After a while, the brothers lost track of each other as well. On the way, Peter met an old man who begged him for food. Peter simply refused to give his share to him. Next, he met a little girl who had hurt her leg. She asked him to help her get back to her village nearby. Again, Peter simply refused to offer any kind of help and carried on his way. Now, though Handy couldn't see Peter, but he was actually just a few yards behind him. When he met the old man, he offered him all the food he had and went his way. Soon, he came across the little girl as well. He helped her stand up, offered her some water, and even helped her get back to her village. It was evening by the time. Handy decided to start again. The little girl's parents advised him to spend the night with them. "We will go with you to help you find your brother and friends," they assured him. Handy agreed. On the other hand, the darkness and the voices in the jungle started scaring Peter. He wished someone was there to help him. But there was no one in sight except dark reflections in the jungle. He was feeling cold and lonely. Suddenly, Peter came across the same old man again. He ran to him and begged him for help. "Help me, Baba! I am lost! Have you seen my brother? He looks just like me." The old man looked at Peter and said, "Surely I have seen that gem of a child. But why should I help you? You refused to help me when I was in need. Now go away from here." Disheartened, Peter left the place. Soon he saw lights down a hill. It looked like a village. Peter started running towards it and fell down. He hurt his leg badly but still managed to get to the village. At the entrance of the village, he met the same girl he had refused to help. He asked her to help him find shelter for the night. But the girl simply said, "Spend the night under a tree. You deserve it." Peter sat down under a tree and started crying. He had realized the importance of helping people. He spent the night in pain. At dawn, he heard a voice calling his name. It was Handy and the little village girl. Peter rushed to him and said, "Thank God I have found you. Now I realize how important it is to help others." Peter and Handy looked and behaved the same since that day. Vanna and Omi were cousins. Both were beautiful and smart. Yet the two were very different. Vanna was kind at heart, while Omi was a snob. Vanna always treated people with respect, while Omi didn't think that respect was necessary. For this reason, everyone appreciated Vanna, while her cousin hated her out of jealousy. One day, Omi and Vanna went on a tour with the school kids. Vanna lost track of other kids and lost her way in the jungle. While finding her way back, she came upon a cottage and went inside. The cottage belonged to 4 dwarfs. The dwarfs welcomed Vanna and asked her what she was looking for. Vanna told them that she had lost her way and wanted to get back with her friends. The dwarfs asked her to spend a day with and do as they asked her to do. In return, they promised to help her. Vanna agreed. The first dwarf, named Family, commanded her to cook dinner. Vanna gladly agreed and to cook dinner. Vanna gladly agreed and respectfully served everyone dinner. Then everyone went to bed. The next morning, the second dwarf, named Friends, requested her to help him clean the house. Vanna happily lent him a helping hand as well. Suddenly, she saw the third dwarf, named Neighbors, shouting angrily at the birds that were eating the corn he had planted in the garden. Vanna went to him politely, asked him to calm down. Then she set up a scarecrow, shoo away the birds. The fourth dwarf, named Strangers, saw the whole thing. He made fun of Vanna's scarecrow as it indeed appeared funny. Vanna treated him with respect as well and shared a good laugh. The day passed soon, and all the 4 dwarfs were happy to see that Vanna treated them as well as their temper with respect and kindness. It was time for her to return. The dwarfs blessed Vanna with all the beauty and riches in the world. They gave her a bag full of jewels, and within the blink of an eye, Vanna was standing next Omi among her school friends. "Where have you been?" asked Omi. Vanna told her all about her experience with the 4 dwarfs and showed her the bag full of jewels. "All I had to do was spend a day with the dwarfs." On hearing this, Omi grew even more jealous of Vanna. Nonetheless, she asked her politely to show the place where she got lost. Vanna took Omi to the spot where she had lost track of her friends. Before she could guide Omi further, she was off into the woods. Soon, Omi too reached the cottage and went inside. She saw the 4 dwarfs. With a haughty attitude, she said, "I have lost my way and will spend a day here with you. Now, When I leave, you will have to give me a bag bigger than the one you gave to Vanna, or else I will make you even shorter." The dwarfs didn't respond but let Omi stay. When family commanded her to cook food, she snapped, "Do I look like a servant to you?" The next morning, friends asked her to help him clean the house. "What?" Omi shouted. "I am not doing such a low, dirty job." When Omi was trying to catch an afternoon nap, she heard neighbors shouting angrily at the birds. "Knock it off!" Omi shouted back. "I can't stand you or your birds." Soon, neighbors set up a scarecrow. When Omi saw it, she scorned and made fun of it. Suddenly, strangers caught her abusing neighbors and started scorning her instead. This aggravated Omi, and she started making fun of his short height. The day passed with Omi shouting around the cottage. When it was time to leave, the dwarfs said, "You have been a very disrespectful girl. We can't give you much." Within the blink of an eye, Omi found herself next to Vanna. Her clothes were torn, her face had ugly stars, and she had a bag full of hay and stones. The other kids made fun of her, but Omi kept quiet. She had understood that whatever happened with her was due to her disrespectful nature. Elisa had a strange habit. She would switch on the lights and the fans of the class when everybody left the class. She would also overturn the dustbin and kick all the waste around. One day, Betty saw what Elisa did every day. She thought to herself, "I must teach Elisa to be a responsible person. She is quite irresponsible. It seems she does not love our school." But Betty knew that this might prove a little tough. The next day, when everybody filed out of class, Betty hung a little back. Elisa, as was her habit, switched on the fans and the lights. Betty patiently waited for Elisa to do this, and then she switched them off. "Elisa, we have limited resources and therefore we must switch off the fans and the lights when we are not using them," started Betty. "Oh, yeah, sure, Miss Goody 2 Feet," exclaimed Elisa and stormed off. Betty followed her and said, "Wait, Elisa, listen up." Elisa stopped in her tracks. Betty caught up with her and looked at her sincerely. "How would you like if somebody did that to your room?" asked Betty. "What do you mean?" said Elisa. "I know that you are the one who kicks the waste around in the class when nobody is watching. Well, our classrooms are our rooms, and we should be responsible for keeping them clean and tidy," said Betty. This got Elisa thinking. After thinking for some time, she said, "I never thought this way, Betty." Betty smiled and said, "Well, we sometimes fail to see some things as our own things, even when they are our own. If we take care of our school, the school will take care of us. How? Asked Elisa. Let's go to the library and I will explain this further, replied Betty. Look at all these books. We love reading them. But how bad do you feel when you find the book's torn or pages missing in the book? Asked Betty. Actually, quite bad, said Elisa. If we take care of our books, we will find them a joy to read. I try to tape the torn pages and ensure that I don't read the books while I am eating. This saves them from getting stained. I also do not write in the books as I know that a clean book is a pleasure to read, said Betty. Wow! Was all that Elisa could manage? Similarly, when in the canteen, I throw the waste in the dustbin so that nobody trips over the food, falls and spoils his or her clothes. When in the lab, I use the equipments in accordance with the teacher's instructions so that the equipments and I both are safe. If I borrow something from the school, I try to return it in the same condition so that I can use it the next time also. I would really not like somebody borrowing my things and not returning them in the same condition, continued Betty. Elisa just looked in awe at Betty. As they were walking to the water place, Betty saw a little girl leaving the tap open. She immediately turned the tap off and said, "It does not matter if it is me or somebody else that leaves the tap open. It is my responsibility to ensure that important resources like electricity and water are not wasted. This will make my school neat, presentable, and environment friendly." At last, Elisa said, "Betty, you have changed my opinion about school. I never thought of the school as being my own. From now on, I will make sure that I respect my school and its things and treat them as I treat my own belongings." Betty was very happy when she heard this. She hugged Elisa and said, "This school will now become a better place, Elisa." From that day on, Elisa was often seen picking up things on her way and throwing them in the waste basket. In fact, one day she was also seen teaching another little boy how to respect school just the way she had learned it from Samuel. Loves spending time with his dog. He has learned how to value his pet and take care of it. It was Samuel's 10th birthday party. Everybody had brought gifts for him. However, the loveliest gift of all was the one brought by Grandpa. "It's a dog!" exclaimed Samuel excitedly as he opened the basket that Grandpa gifted him. "Oh, I always wanted to have a pet that would do anything I want. Thank you, Grandpa. I love you the most." Before Grandpa could guide him how to take care of the pet, Samuel went about showing his proud possession to everyone. From that day on, Buzz became his best friend. Though Samuel loved spending time with Buzz, yet he never took care of it. To make matters worse, he started using Buzz to do really naughty things. Often, he would set him to bark and scare away other kids. Soon, he lost all his friends, as he often used his dog to do play tricks on them. The neighbors too started complaining. One evening, Samuel set his dog on an old beggar. The poor beggar couldn't run far and fell down. The dog left many scratches on him and even ate his food. Samuel rarely fed him on time or took care of his needs. The poor beggar was helpless and angry. In a fit of rage, the beggar cursed Samuel. "From now on, you will be the dog." The moment he said those words, Samuel turned into Buzz and Buzz became Samuel. Samuel kept barking, but nobody could understand him. Buzz kicked Samuel and took him home. From that day on, he started treating Samuel the way he had been treating him. Buzz would hardly care if Samuel wanted food or needed a bath. He would simply make him run around the neighborhood playing pranks on people all day long. Often, Samuel would get thrashings and kicks from people, as they thought that he was a dog. Gradually, Samuel realized his mistake. He started realizing how his actions had hurt his dog and others around. He wanted to change himself, but it was too late, as now he was merely a dog. One night, while everyone was sleeping, a burglar broke into the house. Samuel sensed it and started barking loudly. The burglar tried to scuffle him, but Samuel bit him so bad that the burglar left the house instantly. That very moment, Samuel changed back into a boy and Buzz turned back into dog. By the time Samuel's parents came out their bedroom, Samuel was gently stroking Buzz. On seeing them, he said, "Buzz scared away a burglar today." "That's great," said Samuel's dad. "We were thinking of leaving Buzz somewhere far and deserted, as all he did was bark at innocent kids, play pranks on the neighbors, and bite strangers. But now I think we need to reconsider that decision." "Oh, please don't abandon him, Dad," cried Samuel. "It was my fault. I never took care of him properly and made him do all that bad stuff. But now I have learnt my lesson." Father smiled at Samuel. From that day on, Samuel took good care of Buzz. He would keep him clean, feed him well, and even taught us how to make friends with other kids. No one in the neighborhood hated Buzz anymore. The only ones to fear him were the burglars. Though Bob was very nice at home, he had no civic sense. He paid no respect to public property. He did not care if he dirtied the roads or if he scratched the bus seats. He was very irresponsible that way. Though his father kept warning him that one day he will have to pay, Bob remained the same. One day, his aunt whom Bob loved more than anything else in the world, came up to him. "Bob, Bob, I need to go to the hospital. Will you come with me?" "Sure, Aunt, let's go," said Bob. They hailed a taxi and together they went to the hospital. When they reached the hospital, Bob asked about the fare. The taxi driver quoted such an exorbitant price that Bob was surprised. "Where's your meter, mister?" asked Bob. The taxi driver just sneered and said, "It was broken off by some naughty kid like you, chappie." Aunt was left with no choice but to pay the taxi driver. When Bob and his aunt reached the hospital, Bob was asked to wait while Aunt went to visit the doctor. Bob reached the waiting room, but what did he see? He saw that some of the seats were occupied while the others were free. The free seats was crashed and there was litter all under the seats. This disgusted Bob. He could find no clean place to sit. So he had to stand and wait for his aunt to be free, which was a good 2 hours. When Aunt finally appeared, she said, "Bob, let's take the bus back home." "Sure, Aunt, as you say." And they went to the bus stop to wait for a bus. There, Bob saw a small boy scratching away at a tree trunk. "What are you doing, little boy? This is not your property that you are scratching away at it. Stop now, or I will call the police." Surprised at the way Aunt reacted, Bob asked her, "Why did you scold the boy so much, Aunt? He was just scratching the tree trunk." Aunt was pretty surprised to hear this. "Why, Bob? How can you talk like such an irresponsible boy? These trees, these buses, these taxis, this bus stop, these benches, all these things belong to us, to our town. We pay taxes to the government so that the government can maintain these for us. If that's the case, then why is this bus stop broken and why are there no seats here?" asked Bob. "Ah!" exclaimed Aunt. "Is everything at your home up to date and maintained at all times?" Bob thought for a while and then said, "No." "Have you ever wondered why?" asked Aunt. "No," replied Bob again. "It's because your mother cannot do everything on her own. She needs help. And just as we help at our house, we need to help the government also to keep our things clean and in working condition," replied Aunt. "How can we do that, Aunt?" asked Bob, throwing the toffee wrapper on the pavement. "Well, to start, you can throw that toffee wrapper in the dustbin," said Aunt sternly. Ashamed, Bob picked the wrapper and threw it in the dustbin. "Good. Now take care that you do not throw waste on the roads. You should not scratch bus seats. You should play in the playgrounds that are made for playing, so that you do not hurt anybody," said Aunt. "Aunt, now I know what you mean. Today at the hospital, I had to stand for 2 hours because the seats were dirty and scratched. Had we taken care of the seats, everybody could have sat on them and rested," exclaimed Bob. So you have finally got what I mean to say," smiled Aunt. From that day onwards, Bob is seen not only helping at home